At this point, it seems like there's a dark cloud over the Clippers. It seems like it's never going to happen for them to win a championship. It just seems that way. It feels that way, and it's starting to really become a sense of it being that way for the Clippers because, when you look at the entirety of this tenure or the time that Kawhi and PG has been with the Clippers team, they haven't found a way to get to a finals or win a championship from that. So it's like, where do you go from here? Now, before we get into everything, please like, subscribe, also hit the notification bell if you haven't. But let's just go ahead and jump right in. As always, this team is predicated to win a championship, and a lot of people looked at this team the last few years, especially championship or bust. Now, when they first came together, Kawhi and PG, the bubble situation happened, and that's the only time we've seen Kawhi and PG together on the floor, for at least a consistent amount of time or a decent amount of time, because they went through the first round of the Dallas Mavericks, and they found themselves in a dogfight in that one with just Luka pretty much by himself, and they still weren't able to secure the bag. They dropped the ball on that one. Then on top of that, you come back, the year following, you get past the Dallas Mavericks again, and then Kawhi goes down the second round against Utah, in which the Clippers find a way to get to the conference finals. They ultimately lose to the Suns, which they're playing, currently now or have played. And, it was a over and done situation there because Kawhi was out. Then the following year, Kawhi sat out the whole year with his knee injury, which we all understand that. And then Paul George gets COVID in the play-in tournament. And then, you have this year where Kawhi is looking like he's healthy going into the playoffs, and Paul George goes out with a hyperextended knee, and it really puts them on the back burner because they had to face a Phoenix Suns team who's completely loaded, and they really didn't have no chance against. In a lot of people's eyes, I felt like they did if Kawhi was healthy, but it would have took everything out of Kawhi Leonard to beat them in the first round. I definitely, think it would have took everything out of Kawhi and possibly would have gotten the Clippers beat in the second round if Paul George didn't come back, and if Kawhi lost energy where he couldn't be himself because he used so much energy, or he would have used so much energy to beat the Phoenix Suns had that happen, because you'd have to guard all three of their stars and put up 30 plus points and be efficient and, put the team of the Clippers on your back. And that's just a lot for one guy to do. Granted, the fact that the Clippers got Russell Westbrook, but that's a wild card. And a lot of people may disagree with me, and I'm okay with you disagreeing with me. I respect your opinion, as hopefully you respect mine. But in the long run, Russell Westbrook doesn't equate to championships. If he did, look at all the superstar players Russ has played with. He's played with every damn superstar that you could think of in the NBA, really. He's played with, James Harden. He's played with Kawhi Leonard now. He's played with Paul George. He's played with LeBron, AD. Good gracious. The only superstars I think he probably hasn't played with that I can think of off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure there's more. I can say Giannis and, maybe Kyrie and, Joel Embiid or somebody like that. But damn, he's played with a lot of talent, you know what I'm saying? And, he's played with talent that, he's played with James Harden too. I don't know if I mentioned that, but my point is he's played with so much talent. I'm not blaming Russ for the reason that the Clippers are not where they're supposed to be, because he's been playing, fairly well. But Russ playing fairly well doesn't equate to winning. If you could put up a lot of great numbers, but if you don't win, who gives a damn? Nobody does. So it's a bust situation. And I personally don't even know why the Clippers ever signed Russell Westbrook, to try to sit there and prove something to the Lakers, that you can use him, that you can make him useful on your team. You could put him in the starting lineup and you could win with Russell Westbrook. Put it like this. Let me say this much. A lot of people might not be speaking on it, but when Russell Westbrook came to the Clippers, they started out 0-5. Think about it like this. If the Clippers won three out of those 5 games, they would have never had to fight all the way to the end of the season and to the very last game against the Phoenix Suns. And possibly if they won 3 out of those 5 games, in which they probably would have if they would have kept starting Terrence Mann, which I thought Terrence Mann was playing very good with the Clippers, very good with Kawhi and PG. They would have kept Terrence Mann in the starting lineup. They would have won probably 2 or 3 out of those 5 games they lost when they acquired Russell Westbrook, and they wouldn't have had to fight all the way to the end of the season wearing Kawhi Leonard down the way they did, knowing that he came off of knee surgery. You definitely don't want to wear him down before the playoffs. And the Clippers had to fight all the way to the end of the season just to get in, where it shouldn't have been that way. They should have won several games in the latter part of the season, which is near the end of the season, and everything would have been fine. They wouldn't even have had to come down to the last game of the season against the Phoenix Suns, the team they had to play in the first round, because you never know. They might have won a few games. They might have won more than 3 of those 5 games that they lost in the beginning with Russell Westbrook, and they might not even had to face the Suns in the first round. They might have they might have actually carved a easier path for them to get through the first round, just in case injury might happen, to where maybe the second round, one or both of your guys can come back and secure the bag and secure the victory and move on to the next round and see how it goes. Now you put yourself in a position against the Phoenix Suns team, which you really didn't have all the firepower you needed to go against them, and you see yourself in the predicament that you're in. So, which is not a good one, apparently, of the outcome of that. But my point is, like, the Clippers made it hard for themselves. And this is why I say, organizations like the Clippers, you've been through all these years of drought and not winning championships and things like that, and not seeing the success. Well, a part of that is decision making. You got to learn to make better decisions. And like I said, a lot of people may not agree with me, but what I'm saying is, when an organization makes good decisions, and when you have good recruiters and good decision makers on your team, you tend to go far. You tend to do big things in the playoffs. I mean, as I said before, like, the Lakers got rid of Russell Westbrook, which was the problem, and got some additive pieces on their team. And now all of a sudden they look like the team to beat in LA. Whereas maybe a few months ago, a lot of people were saying the Clippers were the team to beat in LA because all the depth that they have. And this is the reason why a lot of people still think there's a curse over the Clippers and a burden over the Clippers, because all the depth that you had and have, it doesn't mean anything if you can't win. But it's hard to win if your superstars can't stay healthy with the depth that you have. So it's like, when you think about that, man, the Clippers just really find themselves on the bottom of the barrel type situation. You know what I'm saying? You got all these pieces, and it doesn't mean nothing if your main guys can't stay healthy. And now when you look at it from afar, I mean, honestly, like I said, if they would have won the first 5 games coming out of the All-Star break, if they won those 5, or at least won 3 out of 5, which I think they would have did if Terrence Mann was still in the starting lineup, because I thought his rhythm with Kawhi and PG was really good. So him catching the rhythm the way he was, being in the starting lineup, he's more active, and he's more engaged mentally and everything like that. I mean, I think they would have won about 3 out of 5, and they wouldn't even have been in the 7th or the 6th seed. I don't believe. I think the Clippers would have. I don't think the Clippers would have even been in the 5th seed. I think they might have been, possibly, in the 4th or possibly the 3rd seed, because they had an opportunity to get in the 3rd seed where the Sacramento Kings are. Because, like I said, they would have won 3 out of those 5 games. It would have been like a game or 2 difference in regards between them and the Kings. Now, the Kings had the tiebreaker over the Clippers, but still, you could have put yourself in position, whereas you could have won. And hypothetically, let's say the Kings let a few games go, which they did, which they probably would have done, because they already secured a spot in the playoffs. You could have possibly got a 3rd seed or something like that, and that would have made all the world difference. I mean, hell, even if the Clippers got a 4th seed, and hypothetically Phoenix was the 5th seed, that means the first 2 games would have been in LA. And the first 2 games in LA, I mean, hypothetically, the Clippers win 2 games in LA, then the series is completely different, because it probably would have went 7 games anyway. You win the first 2 games at home, and then there's a possibility, even though Kawhi went out for a couple of games, he might have came back a game 7. So could have Paul George. You see what I'm saying? So even if you was in the 4th seed, you would have put yourself in better position. So losing those first 5 games coming out the bat of the All-Star game really hurt the Clippers. It made them have to use Kawhi Leonard, wear him down to the very last game of the season, which was against Phoenix, and he had to fight and claw the last few games just to get a playoff spot, when it shouldn't have had to be that way. This is why I said the Clippers do a lot of things, have done a lot of things to themselves, and you have to make better decisions as an organization. I don't really understand why they went and got Russell Westbrook. I really don't. Like I said, I think Russ has helped them a lot. I think Russ has done some good things, with the Clippers, no doubt about it. But at the same time, they're not things going to help you win championships. When you look at if you look at every game, Russ has had one or two to three turnovers that you scratch your head and say, damn, why did he even try that? Why did he even attempt that? Because he knows that can't be right. He knows that's going to be a turnover, right? You see what I'm saying? So it's like when you look at things like that in its entirety, like you're only going by what you see. And it's like, that's not championship basketball. And think about it. If, I like Russ. Russ is definitely one of my, all-time favorite players. In regards to just his athleticism. His athleticism has just, he is he's probably the most athletic point guard I've ever seen besides Derrick Rose. So game wise, I always liked his game. I always liked the way his explosiveness was and all that. But now that he doesn't have a lot of that and he only uses it at times because he can't do it as constant in the games the way he could 4 or 5 years ago. Now he only do it in spurts. His turnovers hurt more now because he's not as explosive offensively the way he was on a consistent nightly basis, the way he used to be. So his turnovers hurt even more now, especially if you're trying to win a championship. So my point is, I don't even think they should have went and got Russell Westbrook, as I said in the beginning, and I stand on what I say. Because I really don't think Kawhi Leonard was cool with that. Paul George and a few others, voted for Russell Westbrook to be there. And I thought that was the beginning of their problems. They started out 0-5, which, like I said, if they would have won a few of those games, they wouldn't even have been in the 5th or 6th seed. They probably would have been in the 3rd or 4th seed. And 3rd or 4th seed looks a lot better because even if you had to play the Phoenix Suns, like I said, you would have had the first 2 home games. You would have had the first 2 games at home if you was the 4th seed. I like the Clippers' chances with Kawhi Leonard in the first 2 games at home with all that depth that they have against a Phoenix team in which they actually beat game 1 on the road. So I definitely know they definitely could win 2 games at home, or it's possible for them to win 2 games at home if Kawhi is there. So my point is that makes all the world difference. And then if you was a 3rd seed, you would have even avoided them all the way around. So that would have been fine. You play the Warriors, which would have been a tough series, but at the same time, the Warriors are so piss poor on the road. Only thing you have to do is win 4 home games. And if you win 4 home games, the series is over with. So my point is, things like this happen to the Clippers, seems like, and it doesn't happen to any other team but them. So it's like, I don't know if there's a curse. I don't know if it's a burden. I don't know if it's a whatever you want to call it, but something has got to be said about this because it's like, I don't know. You date back when Chris Paul played and Blake Griffin. Why couldn't they get it done with all the depth they had? They had a good deep roster too. They had a lot of players, really. Matt Barnes, they had a lot of good role players, guys who knew their role. And, Jamal Crawford was a great 6-man off the bench. They had all the necessary pieces too, but for some reason they just couldn't win it. And it's the same story with this situation with Kawhi and PG. And it's like, after time, you don't want to believe it's a curse, but over time, it's like you start to scratch your head and wonder, like, what the hell's going on? But either way, things didn't work out the way that, the Clippers had anticipated and hoped. And now they're at a crossroad. They got to figure out where they're going to go from here, what they're going to do, and what, what's going to be what. We don't know whether Kawhi and PG will be back next season. We hope they will, but there's a lot of talking about trades all of a sudden now, and you hear analysts talking bad about Kawhi and all this other type stuff, which they don't talk bad about no other superstar except him because, as I said before, they talk bad about Kawhi because Kawhi's not the superstar they want him to be. He's the most quietest, superstar that we've ever seen, and the media doesn't like that. They want you to conform to them, and Kawhi is just the opposite. So that's the reason why he gets the slander he gets, which is still uncalled for. But regardless of that, regardless of what you think of my opinion or anything else, the Clippers, they just can't find a way to get a championship, at least not at this point. I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but I don't see a lot of good things. I don't see a lot of these same guys being on here. I see a lot of separation from the Clippers. I see some, trades happening in the offseason. I see just a situation where, the Clippers, you're going to have to revamp everything. And who knows if Ty Lue will even be there. So, that's another question. So it's like, man, it's so much that goes into this that this entails. It's really saddening for the Clippers nation and the Clippers organization because Steve Ballmer's putting out all this money and his superstars can't stay healthy. And it's just not right to the fans. But at the same time, injuries happen. There's nothing you could do about that. You put all your chips in and hopefully it all comes out to the good. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just, you brick on it. And that's seemed like that's what the Clippers have done so far. They bricked on it because this Kawhi PG thing has not worked. And if it's not one player, it's another that's out. And when both of them are on the floor, it's not long enough to build enough chemistry for us to believe that they really can actually do it. We just believe they can win a championship off all the talent that they have on this roster, along with Ty Lue being the coach and having all these pieces at his disposal with two superstars who are supposed to be able to carry the distance but can't stay healthy enough to do it. So, I mean, like I said, I really don't know where it goes from here, but I can tell you it doesn't look up for the Clippers from here. And hey, who knows how it's going to end up or who's coming back next season, but expect some changes to be made because I just don't see how this is going to transpire. The media, I feel like the media is going to break this team apart more than the players will in the locker room. So, with that being said, hey, we got to see what happens and, we just hope for the best.